Every morning, the sun rises without being asked. It simply rises and the world wakes up around it.
Hi, I am Annalisa. Most people know me as Mother Bee. Today I want to tell you something I have never really sat down and told properly before. Not in a reel, not in a caption, the real story. Where I came from and why food has been part of my life since before I can even remember. This is part 1 where it all began. I grew up in the Philippines in a family where food, creativity, and hard work were simply part of everyday life. My grandmother had a market stall. My aunties were market vendors selling fresh food and commodities. Some of my aunties were cooks. My granduncles were professional cooks. My father sold tomatoes. And one of my granduncles was a painter, so really I grew up surrounded by makers. People who built things with their hands. People who understood that what you put into something determines what comes out of it, whether that was a market stall full of fresh vegetables, a pot of something slow-cooked and deeply savory, or even a beautiful frame painting. And at 8 years old, I stopped just watching, I started doing. I was 8 years old when I became a food entrepreneur, not playing shop, actually doing it. I bought candies and sandwiches and I sold them. During summer holidays, I made ice candy from scratch and sold them as refreshments. And every Holy Week, I sold palaspas, the woven palm leaves Filipino families bring to church on Palm Sunday. I did that completely on my own, 3 different products, 3 different seasons, all run by a child who had not yet finished primary school. Nobody taught me that from a business book. I learned it by living inside a family that breathed food, creativity, and commerce every single day. And because everything around me was fresh, real, and made with care, I became the fussiest eater in the family. When your baseline is a tomato your father sold at the market that morning, everything else feels like a compromise. So I did what any fussy child in a family of cooks would do. I went into the kitchen and I started inventing things myself, not following recipes, not measuring everything, just creating food based on what I felt like eating that day. Looking back now, I realize that was never just cooking. That was a child with high standards and the instinct to meet them herself. Next week in part 2, I will tell you what happened next. How that fussy little food seller from the Philippines became a food technologist, went back to study culinary while working full-time, moved to New Zealand, and one of my granduncles was a painter, and one day stood in a supermarket aisle and decided to change everything. That little girl never stopped being a food seller. She just grew up. I am Mother Bee, and I will see you in part 2.